Bruchim Aboyim Ale. Welcome, everyone. My name is Shane Baker of the Congress for Jewish Culture. We're pleased to be joining today with the Workers' Circle, Arbeiter Ring, with the Jewish Labor Committee, and with CYCLE, the California Institute for Yiddish Culture and Language, to present this afternoon in memory of the Soviet Yiddish writers murdered on August 12th, 1952, and mentioning others who were murdered before that or who were repressed during the years leading up to and after. We'll go into that history in just a little bit, but we would like to begin with a poem about this day. That is to say, August 12th, 1952, and we mark it every August 12th. Here we are doing it Erev August 12th, so that more of you can join us on a fine summer Sunday afternoon. And we'll start out hearing the poem in a new English translation by Maya Evrona, who recently published a book of translations by the Yiddish poet Yosef Kerler, who suffered great repression under the Soviet regime, but made it out to Israel to write Yiddish poetry for many more years. And so we'll hear the English of this poem, this traditional poem, now. Maya?
August 12th, 1952. On this very day, we tighten our hold on our pain and our weeping, the pain in our hearts, our lament through clenched teeth, Bergelsen, Markish, Kvitko, and Hofstein. They were felled in the middle of the night, and no one brought them any solace before death. And the only light that anointed them at the end came right at the flash of the murderous volley. On this very day, I raise up and I carry my song spattered with blood, my poem a gravestone, my heart a candle. But I will not now, it would seem, fulfill my duty. There is nowhere to set down, candle nor stone, Bergelsen, Markish, Kvitko, and Hofstein.
Thank you, Maya. And you can read more of Kerler's poetry in English translation in her book, From a Bird's Cage to a Thin Branch, published by the White Goat Press. It's beautiful, beautiful poetry. And now to read that poem in Kerler's original Yiddish, we have the education director of the Workers' Circle, Kolya Borodulin.
12. August 1952. In dem dosigen Tag versparen mir stärker die Pein und die Klog. Die Pein in dem Herzen, die Klog zwischen Zehen, Bergelsen, Markisch, Kvitko, Hofstein. Sie sind gefallen in Mitte der Nacht. Es hat keiner kein Trost für den Tod nicht gebracht. Und die einzige Schein, welche hat sie gesalbt, ist gewesen dann der Blitz von dem rotzkischen Salb. In dem dosigen Tag, mein zerblutigt Gesang, heb ich auf und ich trug, mein Lied am Zewe, mein Herz wie ein Licht. noch welch schon weist euch nicht der vielen mein Pflicht. Es ist nicht to, wo zu stellen, kein Licht und kein Stein. Bergels, Markisch, Quitko auf Stein.
Thank you, Kolya. And now we'll go into poetry by these writers very shortly. It's worth pointing out that the four mentioned in that poem, as well as the fifth, Itzik Pfeffer, were all born in the land now known as Ukraine, in their day, part of the Tsarist Empire, and at the time that they were writing, part of the Soviet Empire. And we'll examine their history just a little bit as we go along. So we'll go all the way back to the beginning, and we'll hear a song written by David Hofstein with music by Emil Gorovets, the beloved singer and composer, that describes a childhood. It says auf russische Felder, but more correctly, one might say auf russländische Felder, that is in the greater Russian Empire. As David Hofstein, that great lyric poet, describes his childhood in the Dorf, in the fields, in the villages of the Russian Empire. And for this, we will hear Sveta Kundish.
In Winter vernachten auf russische Felder, wo kommen seine Eltern, wo kommen seine Eltern, a Ferdl an Altix, a Skritten der Schnitten, a Schляcher verschneider, und ich bin in Wien. Von unten in einzigen Winkel in Blas, noch löschen sich treuerig fliehende Masten. Von vorn verspreit sich am Midbar a Weiße, und weiter zur Seite ist a Zählikel heiße. Dort drüben der Hutor versunken in Schnee, zum jüdischen Häusel viel Städtchen gehen. A Häusel wie alle, nur größer die Fenster, und zwischen die Kinder, dort bin ich der Älteste. Und eng ist mein Viertel, und klein ist mein Rädel. In 2 Wochen einmal von Chutor in Städtel, und Bänken in Schweigen von Feldern von Breite, verborgene Wehen von Säumen, was warten und warten auf Sehen. In Winter vernachten auf russische Felder, wo kommen seine Eltern, wo kommen seine Eltern.
So we get to feel the longing of the oldest child out there in the Ukrainian countryside for something a little bit different. And whether he knew then that he would grow up to be one of the finest lyric poets we'd have, who knows? Maybe that was part of his dream. Maybe that's what he saw through those wide windows of their little Jewish house. But as I say, all of these poets were born, those whom we're honoring today, were born in the small towns. And so I'd like to give you just a brief taste of that countryside as described by David Bergelson in this poem about frogs in a swamp. The ravens around are looking at them as the swamp is fermenting, and they listen to the sound of the frogs. And the poem goes on to describe how the frogs are everlasting. The people come and go, but the frogs in the swamp are everlasting. There might be deeper meanings to it, but the sounds alone are worth a listen. And I wanted to share it because Bergelson is known as a prose writer. This is the only poem of his work that was included in the anthology A Spiegel auf a Stein. We'll speak about that a little bit later too. And it's a substantial poem, but this is just a taste. Fresh Frogs von David Bergelson. Robben stehen auf den Feldern zwischen Sumpen und Jabosche, springen zwischen schwarze Kronen mit gepentet kleine Fieslach und sie nogen und sie klagen, hoppen, knapp paar Nosse dort in Gecken, knapp paar Nosse. Von morgen früh bis Nacht und dunkel, nur sie warfen Robbenblicken rechts zum größten schimmeldicken Sumpf und verkarken mit Rumes von entwinken Kind und vorbei also sich glatt also in verwelkten großen Gräu hat Weg sich still behalten. Still gedrimmelt, still gescholten und verwachsen liegt also, hört wie Robben nogen. Ein alter Weg beim Säum von Sump, ein schmoller Weg, führt zum Sumper, hat vor keinem nicht getreist. Jäuert der Sump und jäuert, ausgezeugen mit 3 Ecken, in Gore weit geblieben stecken und verzeugen mit sein grünem Heitel und zerspreit gelegen mit sein Schettach in einem weiten Kant und verschwunden in einem weiten schmolken Speltel in einem Horizont. Und gewacht alle Nacht und geschrocken hint in Gegend mit dem Glanz von sein gefreurener Levone. Und vertracht also gelegen mit sein Bittel zu hinsbilden und mit Widdeln eingeherzach wie es quaken. Ewig quaken, seine fresh. So there's a taste of what David Bergelson could do with a poem. So you can see a little taste of their lives, a little taste. Of course, life was harder in the Tsarist Empire than this poetry might indicate. And there were dreams of a brighter future. And Any number of forward-thinking Jews were involved in the revolution of 1905, which led to great repressions. Maybe it was a rehearsal for the revolution that was to come. But first, there would be the great disturbance of the World War, the Great War, the war to end all wars, World War I. And in this song, the poet Moshe Kulbach gives a look at a soldier's hope from the front, or what a star might do. And we're going to hear Cindy Paley interpret that.
Little star, be a messenger, fall in my little village. Tell me, how are Leitz and Rivola doing? Tell them that I kissed their letters, that Yankele should go to Cheder, so he may learn to say Kaddish. After all, who knows? But God will surely be compassionate with us. Little star, be my messenger, fall in my shtetele. Sterndl, blauer Stafettele, sei mir ein Schlier und fall in mein Städtele. Sei mir ein Schlier und fall in mein Städtele. Sterndl, blauer Stafettele, sei mir ein Schlier und fall in mein Städtele. Sei mir ein Schlier und fall in mein Städtele. Sen Wester Gessele noch dem Agripele, dorten gefind sich mein Chore Stiebele, dorten gefind sich mein Chore Stiebele. Elint allein bei der finstere Scheibele, sitzt dort vertreuert und eiget mein Weibele. Sitzt dort vertreuert und eiget mein Weibele. Sterndl, blauer Stafettele, sei mir ein Schlier und fall in mein Städtele. Sei mir ein Schlier und fall in mein Städtele. Drehst dir, du Stern, du leicht dir in Stube rein, sag ihr, der Eberster wird sich mehr Rachim sein. Sag ihr, der Eberster wird sich mehr Rachim sein. Frag, was mach Yankele, Leitze und Rivele, sag, seh ich lehen und kusch sehe Brivele. Sag, seh ich lehen und kusch sehe Brivele. Sterndl, blauer Stafettele, sei mir ein Schlier und fall in mein Städtele. Sei mir ein Schlier und fall in mein Städtele. Sag sie als Yankelen soll men nicht jaleven, gehen in Cheder genug ihm zu baleven. Gehen in Cheder genug ihm zu baleven. Soll sich auslernen Kaddish, wie's darf so sein. Efter, men weiß nicht, nur Gott wird mir Rachim sein. Efter, men weiß nicht, nur Gott wird mir Rachim sein. Sterndl, blauer Stafettele, sei mir ein Schlier und fall in mein Städtele. Sei mir ein Schlier
Thank you, Cindy. So that's the dream of a Jewish soldier on the front during World War I, a greeting to his family back home. And we'll look at the thoughts of a soldier after that war in the words of Itzik Pfeffer, who writes, what does it matter if I've been circumcised with rituals as among the Jews? Field winds have tanned my middle-sized, pale dreaming feet to darker hues. Some Jews long for cholent yet, we toughs for smoke and flame in motion. 8 years embattled meadows set underneath the sky's blue ocean. I'm a quiet guy and hardly a villain. My honesty has no great appeal. I've never been known to put on tefillin. I'm never known to wheel and deal. So what if I've been circumcised with rituals as among the Jews? Field winds have tanned my middle-sized, pale dreaming feet to darker hues. That's John Hollander's English. And in Pfeffer's Yiddish, it sounds like, Nu, is was as mot mech gemalet und gepravet wie bei Jiden abris. So'ben feldische Winden versmollet meine weiße verdrimmelte Fist. Dort träumen noch Jiden von Schollend, Jaten denken noch Räuch und noch Flamm, 8 Jahr auf Felder und Tollen unter himmlischen Fleuen Jahr. Me kenn mich für a guten und stillen, für a Sach is mein Ehrlichkeit karg. Hab keinmal nicht gelegt Katfillen und keinmal nicht gehandelt in Mark. Nu, is was, als man hat mich gemalet und gepravet wie bei Jiden a Briss. So haben feldische Winden versmaliert meine weiße, verdrimmelte Fies. Well, he talks about 8 years in the fields and 8 years of fighting. That's because World War I, of course, was to have larger effects and to get a taste of what was to come from those who could see what the future. We will turn now to Suzanne Torren.
Thanks, Shane. This poem by Leib Kvitko is called Weiber, the women, and it ostensibly describes a mundane scene, a circle of women sitting together darning socks. However, these are not ordinary women. They're whispering to each other. They have almost prophetic vision, and they sense danger. The scene creates an atmosphere of terror, both by the sounds that Kvitko uses in the poem and the way he describes things. It creates a sense of anything can happen at any time. You better watch out of the anxious turmoil created by political unrest. The poem also warns the reader not to go outside because something dangerous is about to happen. Kvitko wrote this poem in 1918, but it perfectly foreshadows the terror of the Stalinist era all those years later. So here is Weiber. Und sehst du in Dreußen von Weiber a Redel, bearbeit die Socken und Schotten von Sedel, mischuschket sich, eine zu zweiter gebeugen, und treurige Schottens verstellen die Augen. Sei wissen, mein Bruder, und du Durchgeher, es wird etwas geschehen, es wird etwas geschehen. Ein nevischer Geist ist zergossen in weibersche Herzen. Sie gucken in sie wie in Urim Vetumim. Sie fühlen das Sod und sie wissen sein Sinnen, der vielen vermeilen die Liebe und Sinne. Sie schuschken sich, schuschken. Du guckst sich herum, du suchst Chotschasimen von dem, wo sie murmeln. Du suchst und du schreckst sich und wärst schirmischige und wärst mit der tjochende Herz koimand runnen. Ich rot dir, mein Bruder, in Gas dann nicht gehen. Es wird etwas geschehen. Es wird etwas geschehen.
Thank you, Suzanne. If you can't tell, she's one of the foremost readers of books on tape, in addition to a fine fine actress. Es wird etwas geschehen. So that feeling of foreboding, of course, it was particularly sharp among the Jews of the Soviet Union to be. In addition to World War I and the revolution, then there came also the Civil War. And this had Opklangen, echoes that were particularly harsh in Ukraine, as we will now hear in a poem read by Joschke Horowitz.
Het is dus lied Rusländischer Tod, de poem Russian Death van Lev Kvitka. Rusländischer Tod is Tod van alle Teuten. Rusländischer Pein is Pein van alle Peinen. Jatret Weltse Wind, die halt ihr Herz hat sind. Frega Breckelkind, Frega Jiddisch Kind.
Shkoyach Joschke. So this is also by Leib Kvitko, this poem. And when he says Frega Breckel Kind, Frega Yiddish Kind, how the death in the Russian Empire is the death of all deaths, he's referring to the pogroms that ensued after the war, and in particular during the civil war that ensued. Now, at this point, I will pause and say that I'm giving you on one foot the history here. We have in development and presented for 2 years running a program developed by Yelena Shmulenson that goes very in depth into the history and gives the full context. And we are hoping, the Congress with Yelena and others are hoping to develop this into a documentary that can be out there for people who didn't know this history, and it seems that many do not. I would ask who's been to such an event before, but I don't know if we can do that in a panel. In any event, we have Yelena here with us today, and she has asked to present a Viglied, a lullaby by another writer. Like Moshe Kulbach, he's not mentioned among those in the poem at the beginning, and we'll go into why in a bit. And I'll let Yelena give the introduction to this poem, describing the hard times they were going through. Yelena?
Thank you. Thank you, Shane. This is Izzy Harik was a Belarusian Soviet Jewish poet who was very, very famous in his time and influential. And in 1937, he was purged along with Moshe Kulbach and others. And this lullaby kind of talks about, I have a theory that the lullaby is the only time that a mother can sit in quiet and pour out her heart to the child who is not going to understand what she's saying, but she knows. That's why all the Yiddish lullabies are so heartfelt and full of sadness, and this is one of those. There is no bread in the house. Sleep, my child. I can't sing you about a ripe field. Your father's following the plow, and one day you will follow the plow too. You will grow. You have to grow like a young tree. And your friend will be hard labor, and your home will be the earth. And when one day, as they tell us, it will become easier, life will become easier on this earth, you should know that your mother did not have such an easy time here. Es ist kein Bräut in Stub, nicht noch Schlaf, mein Kind, mein Steifs. Ich kenn nach Hitzter dir nicht singen von a Feld, was reift. Ich kenn nach Hitzter dir nicht singen von a Feld, was reift. Lulu, lu, schlaf. Geht dein Tate noch nacker schwer und ausgedreht, wird Chote gehen bei dir, der Acker wie der Acker geht. Chote gehen bei dir, der Acker wie der Acker geht. Lulu, Lulu, schlaf. Du wirst wachsen, du musst wachsen, mit der Wuchs von Beim. Schwere mi wird sein dein Haver, fette dein Heim. Lulu, Lulu, schlaf. Uns wird werden, wie mir sagt uns Gring auf Korret. Sollst du wissen, dass dein Mamen ist gewesen schwer. Sollst du wissen, dass dein Mamen ist gewesen schwer. Lulu, Lulu, schlaf.
Shkoyach, Yelena. As Deborah Berman has pointed out, the tune is also used for Stremlin Fagel, a Viglied in the Holocaust collection. Many tunes were reused, of course, to describe present circumstances, and that's a setting for Charek's poem by Yampolsky. Please keep the comments appropriate. I'd appreciate that. This is a very serious event, a solemn remembrance of these poets. So Yelena gives an indication there in the song of no matter how much hope there was for the ability to make a better world, the revolution disappointed, well, everyone, but in particular, perhaps the Jewish people. We'll hear one more poem, one more song before we go into the grim consequences. And we'll turn now to Zisel Slepovich, who will give a brief word before we hear his song.
Thank you, Shane. Hello, everyone. So a few years ago, in fact, that has been maybe 6 or 7 years already, I wrote a vocal cycle named Syllable, which is spelled like you hear it, except it's an abbreviation with SYL, standing for Soviet Yiddish Literati. And I was focusing, it was not an easy task because I wanted to include the poetry of the authors who were in fact massacred in my hometown, Minsk, during the other Night of Massacred Poets, the October 30th, 31st, 1937. And the uneasiness of that task was to read through the code of their poetry, read through the lines and go behind the propaganda or, the propaganda conforming poetry which they had to produce, basically. And a lot of that poetry was by Moshe Kulbak, who unfortunately immigrated to the Soviet Belarus in 1928 from Vilna. And the other two poets whose poetry I selected, and it was quite a bit of a task to find their works online or anywhere offline, were Izicharik, and that lullaby was, by the way, the text that I selected as well for that vocal cycle. And the third poet was Zelik Axelrod, who was executed in the early 1941, and he was close friends with Izzy Hadik. And by the way, I used to know Izzy Hadik's widow, Dina Zvulovna Hadik. She was a local celebrity in Minsk. She was frequently attending the Jewish club in the 90s, as I remember myself. So Axelrod, my impression is that Axelrod didn't quite understand the gravity of the moment, because after 1937, my impression of his writings was that he kept pushing for Yiddish language, culture, education after Yiddish schools were closed, after Stalin made it clear that the game is over. He did not understand that moment or momentum of Hewish, and he kept pushing for it. And effectively, he was accused of nationalism or bourgeois nationalism, whatever were the labels that were attached as death sentences, basically. So Axelrod's poetry goes hand by hand by that of Izzy Hadik. In fact, they exchanged poems with each other. So this is one of his last poems that I included in that vocal cycle syllable, that he sends a farewell to his friend, a poet.
Ich hab gesehen, die Sonne vergeht, a frier Wind, an Äppel reit, der sie ist schön auf der Welt. Sie sah Sachen in dem Verein, wie die Sonne vergeht auf schwarzen Jahren. Du guckst sich zum Horizont, hob dir on, a Freund der Mond. Der Reiter Pass, die Kiele scheint, von Weintrauben der klarer Wein. Me sitzt sich salben Hand mit volle Gläser in der Hand. Was ist der Freund do nicht verraten?
So there were persecutions, obviously, before the executions of 1952. Starting in the 20s, there were purges and show trials. And we'll talk about those again in a moment. And then in the late 30s, there was a major purge of artists, including Izzy Charek, Moshe Kulbach, who were arrested and killed in 37 or thereabouts, including my mentor, Lyuba Kadason's brother, Itzik Kovner, a child's poet writing for the press. Now, I've read somewhere, I've heard that these purges were more artistic and cultural and not necessarily anti-Semitic, but one can certainly say that a great deal of the burden fell upon the Jewish writers and artists. And even Zelig Axelrod, after 37, was executed in 40 or 41. And so we'll now turn to Kolya Borodulin with a poem that introduces the very difficult subject matter.
Just a few words about the poet Shmuel Halkin, because I think it's very important to realize that he was among dozens and dozens of artists with this tragic destiny. He was born, he came from a scholarly Hasidic mishpocha in Belarus, and he was an expert in medieval Hebrew literature, an accomplished painter, and an amazing poet and dramatist. He made his debut as a Soviet Yiddish poet in 1921, and his lyrics of the 1920s express his pain as seeing the unavoidable decline of Jewish national existence after the revolution. During 1930s, he also wrote historical dramas and translated Pushkin and Shakespeare, including the famous Moscow Gazette production of King Lear. He was on several occasions condemned by the Soviet critics as an inflamed bourgeois poet. And he had to change his writing, as many of his contemporaries, implying very often between the lines. He was arrested and imprisoned during Stalin purges, 1948, 1943, returned home very sick and died in 1960. His poem, Russia, Rusland, written in 1923, sounds very intense and prophetic. I'm sending you the translation in chat, so if you want, you can follow. I want to read it in the language he wrote. Rusland. Rusland, wenn nicht mein Gläuben, mein starker in dir, ich wollt jetzt anders geteinet. Ich wollt öfter gesagt, du hast uns verführt, verblendet hast uns, junge Zigeiner. Teiger es uns jeder hebt von dein Hand und weitig dich schwer sie vertrogen. Und wie groß soll nicht sein jetzt der Bruch und die Schand, mir kommen vor dir sich klagen. Ab wohin beschweren jetzt Wassern? Ab wohin? Zu welchen Ländern? Glückliche Russländer Gassen, in euch mir wollen sich endigen. Nicht beschert euch gewesen bis heint, wenn uns ausgehen unter wilder Gerusche. Und jetzt wir gehen in Spann und starben von eurer Kuschen.
So, as noted, there had been previous repressions. And we'll turn back to the ones that began in 28 or so in the late 20s. At that time, the leader of the Yiddish Chamber Theater in Moscow defected while on tour in Germany. And he left in charge of the theater then Shlomo Mechoils, a name that I hope you know. And Shlomo Mechoils was the leader of that theater for many years and through many cultural turns. He fought against the Soviet realism. Uh, his attempt at Soviet realism was a Tevye der Milchiger, but they said that he played Tevye as if on stilts. Tevye was a giant in his production. He could never quite get past the grand style of those early days when Chagall was doing their makeup and costumes. And he had to be huge, Shlomo Mechoils. And so, although the Soviets began to repress Yiddish culture and were planning on closing, for instance, the newspaper Emes before World War II began, by the time the war broke out, they saw a certain value in promoting Yiddish culture and using it. And Shlomo Mechoils, together with these other poets, Bergelson, Markish, Kvitko, Hofstein, Pfeffer, and a number of other prominent Soviet Jews were gathered together to form the Soviet Jewish Anti-Fascist Committee, with a goal of raising money throughout the world and garnering Jewish support throughout the world for the Soviet war effort. And they had some success, and in particular, Mechoils, with his handler Pfeffer, came to New York, as well as London, and raised money and drew attention and became known throughout the world during that time and helped the Soviet war effort. And when the war was over, their usefulness was done. And their support for a nascent Jewish state, together with their popularity outside of the Soviet Union, made them a little bit too big in the eyes of the Soviet leadership. And so in early 1948, Mechoils was sent on a special mission to check out a theater in Minsk in January. And they said that a car ran him over, an accident, an auto accident. And that stood on the internet even for many years. You could find that in IMDb. We had to fight to get that changed in IMDb, the Internet Movie Database. But we know, as people knew even at that time, that it was not a car accident. It was no accident at all. And nonetheless, Mechoils was given a great state funeral. And I'd like Matt to now show a picture of that state funeral. This is from the archives, the Blavatnik archives, but it was discovered in the archives of the Yiddish, the Moskva Yiddish Chamber Theater, burned, as many of these photographs are. But you can see there on the left, Benjamin Zuskin, a great actor and also a victim of August 12th, paying tribute to his stage partner, his friend and comrade, Shlomo Mechoils, there in the coffin, with the flowers, with the speakers. A great funeral, as if it were an accident. It was no accident. Zuskin knew it, and the great poet Peretz Markish also knew it, and we will now hear a bit of Markish's poem that he recited that day as interpreted by Soy Korolenko.
A few words of this recording, which has itself to do with a sort of cheerless sequence of events. It was created for a project dedicated to the 70th anniversary of the Night of the Executed Poets. Curated by Mikhail Krutikov, by Professor Mikhail Krutikov, it had a vision to emphasize the continuity between early 20th century Yiddish avant-garde, such as Kulturliga and others, and the poets of the Anti-Fascist Committee. And the focus was particularly on big projects, big projects unrealized due to the tragedy, such as the planned staging of David Bergelson's Prince Riuveni at the Michoels's Theater, among others. The plan was to showcase books, images, and other visual exhibits alongside with our own newly made recordings. But unfortunately, this very plan itself was predestined to remain unrealized. It was intended to happen in Moscow at the Jewish Museum and Tolerance Center in 2022, which did not happen for obvious reasons due to the current war. And the piano music is improvisation by Matt Genkin, a New York-based musician, who chose to focus on a genre which was very important in the Soviet Union before the war, known as melodeclamation. And for the reading, my inspiration was from Markish's own speech at the Jewish Anti-Fascist Committee meeting, which also happened in August 1941.
Dein letzter Auftritt vom Volk, zwischen die Bruchstücke von Minsk mit Schneebaschutten, nur und ein Wort, nur und ein Kohl, bloß dein verkühlter Ruten. Aber wir hören auf, sind wie allemal, dem umsichtigen Schorch von Adler Fliegel deine, wo's umgetan dich das Volk, soll sein Tröst, sein Obklang in sein Teine. Der Vorhang lässt sich nicht herup, die Lampen im Saal sind nicht ausgeluschen. Es strahlt dein schlafendiger Lebenkorb und von Gestalten schweben die das unsterbliche Luschen. Gesegnen mit dir, mir kämen sich her, durch Fahnen Ost wie Hupklangen von deures Beinen, getrugen singendig Shalom Aleichems Träer. Sie soll sich wie ein Edel stehen, in Land bei uns zu scheinen.
Shkoyach Pasha. Yes, indeed. Michoil's death in 48 was a harbinger, an omen for the arrests that were to come later that year of the remaining members of the Jewish Anti-Fascist Committee. I would like to point out that in that poem, Aner Tomed Bamoren Shin Michoil's, Markish later in the verses makes clear references to Mord. He says, the Mord Zeichens auf dein Ponem. He states openly that it was a murder. He had some brass, Mr. Markish. And he also does everything he can to tie Shloime Michoils as a leader of the Jewish Anti-Fascist Committee, as a leader of Soviet Jewry at that time, to the murdered 6 million Jews of the Churban. And that's particularly fitting because this next poem of Peretz Markish's was written as part of a meditation on the tragedy of the Churban. But in the 1960s, when in Israel it was decided to publish a volume of Soviet Yiddish literature as a show of support for Soviet Jews and as a message to the refusniks of the time, Benjamin Hrushevsky, Benjamin Harshov, suggested a line from this very poem as the title for that anthology that Chana Shmeruk and others put together. And the line is, a Spiegel auf a Stein, a mirror on a stone. And it became a kind of emblem for the Soviet Jewish experience up to that point. And so we'd like to hear that poem now in a new translation by Miri Korel of the California Institute for Yiddish Culture and Language, as well as Markish's original Yiddish. Miri?
Thank you. Thank you, Shane. And Shkoyach to all the panelists, Shikoyach to Shane for organizing this really special program. We're honored to be part of this. Shards. Now that my vision returns to me alone, I open my eyes in shock. And with all my senses, I see that it's my heart that has fallen like a mirror upon a stone, and with a ringing crash has shattered into pieces. To be sure, every shard is not free to witness my last 4 cubits, my faded sphere. O time, my judge, don't trample me until I recover from the shattering, all the shattered, all the scattered debris. I will gather the slivers one by one and try to piece it together, fingers pricked and bloodied. Though I glue this, oh, so skillfully, I'll always see myself in it as broken and crippled. Only now in my grief does the insight come in the throes of remolten glass, hot as flame. I perceive the agony of wanting to see oneself whole in a mirror whose shards are strewn o'er the 7 seas. Bruchstücke. Erzint, wenn's kehrt die Rehe mir sich zurück allein, is mir a Riss die Augen öffnen und sehn mit jedem Glied da, as is mein Herz herabgefallen, wie a Spiegel auf a Stein, und mit a Klunk von Bruch auf Stücker sich zersplittert. Gewiss is euch a jeder Bruchstück nicht befreit, zu sein ein Edes wegen mir, bis meine letzte 4 bescherte Eilen. Zertritt mich nur nicht du, o Richter meiner Zeit, bis ich will absuchen in Euschott die zerspritzte Teilen. Ich will sie aufkleiden, verproben, eins zu eins, beheften sie benannt, bis Blut in Finger sich verstochen. Trotz, wie ich will sie kunzig nicht zu neufkleppen, als eins will ich in dem sich ständig sehen, verkrippelt und zerbrochen. Erst jetzt kommt zu mir in Treuer der Bescheid, in Weh von Überschmerz, begreif ich flammig dem Pein von Wellen sehn sich in Spiegel, ganz erheit. Was ist in Bruchstücke zu seht auf alle Schiffe Yamim.
These writers and the artists were murdered on August 12th, 1952, 72 years ago, by my count. And I'm just going to put in a little about Peretz Markish if you like to read further. He's a fascinating story. And we remember them even today. I remember maybe 10 or 15 years ago, someone who should know better said to me, Noch wie lang wird man upmerken als gedates? How much longer are we going to gather and remember dates like this as if we shouldn't? And I think simply for the beauty of their poetry, it's worth finding a time to recall these writers. And at some point, you should look up Shlomo Mechoils on the internet and see how he drinks tea. I show that to all my acting students every year. But also for the tragedy, also to remember that. So the writers and Benjamin Susskind and the researchers, whom we have not dealt with, the scientists and doctors who were murdered on August 12, 1952. We remember them, Kovet Ze'eron Denk, but let us now turn to the present day. I've given you some information on various of the writers. You're free to look in our online lexicon to learn more about any of them at congressforjewishculture.org lexicon. A lot of the information on the Soviet Jewish writers was put together by our next panelist, Boris Sandler, editor emeritus of the Yiddish Forward, current editor of Yiddish Branche, and one of our wonderful modern writers, which you'll see if you follow his site, Yiddische Branche. In 2011, we were able to publish a volume put together by Chaim Beder, edited by Boris Sandler and Gennady Estreich, with much additional writing on these and many other Soviet Yiddish writers. And Boris is the living Fortsetzung, continuation of that tradition even today. And so we would like to share a poem of his. Boris, je wilt etwas sagen, Eda mir hören das Lied.
קודם כל, dank euch für ein Organisieren dieser wunderliche Treffung. Ich will nur sagen, wir reden schon wegen Lexikon. Es geht zu der Monen, als morgen, dem 12. August, wird 140 Jahre sind es geboren geworden, David Bergelsson. Also ist ihm beschert gewesen, als soll geboren werden wegen in der Rebekit, auf der tragischen Neufen, dem 12. August, in demselben Tag. Ich will gewollt nur zugeben, eine Sache, als mir darf man gedenken, beglach mit die alle Schreiber, du der Monte, und als auch nicht der Monte, wo es sein gewesen verschickt in Gulag, als zusammen mit sie haben geteilt, sehr Tragödie, sehr Freuen. Sie haben gelitten euch wie Sonnen vom Volk, in euch ihre Kinder. Einige von sie sind gewesen verschickt, euch und wie es aufgeteilt von Kindern. In die, was haben gehabt eine Möglichkeit, vielleicht schreiben, Brief, Bekusches in die euche Fenster in Kreml, in Moskau, wo sie gewesen vermacht, verschlossen für sie. In a viele noch dem, wo die Schreiber sind gekommen, zerbrochen, psychisch nicht alle gesinnt, nur noch nie überleben als solche Schrecken, ist sehr trist und sehr stets sind gewesen sehr Weiber. In jetzt ihr wird mir erlauben, ob ich ungeschrieben mal Lied, so hat nicht kein direkten Scheiches zu der Handeke geschehen ist. Das ist ein Geurl von unserem Volk. Und was ist aktuell, ich meine, euch anzutun. In Brunnen Dno von Zeit. Ein Kind habe ich herangekickt in Brunnen, zum ersten Mal im Leben, wie es trifft. Und wie Spaktiv von Sägermacher Bume wollte ich neu herangedreht, gepläfft. Die Tiefkeit hat verschleppt, rupt mich hastig. Der tappt mein Blick dem Spiegel von dem Dno. Mit Farben von der Regenbogen saftig, anplättet sich ein Bild, wie in Kino. Geschleppt sich schures Weiß, die Füße in Ketten, der Durst die Kischkes ausgetrickend hat, getrieben werden Knecht auf Schlag dem Breiten in Goles Bovel, ohne Strahl von Gnot. Geschleppt sich durch dem Dorf von Bnei Ishmael, hat Kind und Keit mit Häusig sie begleit, geworfen sie verstinkene Schreien, gesalzen Wasser sie derlangt mit Freit. gebitten sich die Kadern auf den Leibend, und treiben nahe Siegersknecht zum Teut, und wieder spotten nahe Bnei von Teivel, und warfen sie versammte Stücker Bräut. Und ich stehe Hand auf mich allach Weiten, verhabt mit Scheuderbild von jene Tag, verloren Tränen in dem Dno von Zeiten, ach Sorges auf dem Wasser flach zu schwenkt.
Despite the fact that many of these writers were killed 72 years ago or longer, you see in Yelena's writing, in Boris's poetry, in Ziesel's compositions, in Soy Korolenko's recitation with music, and now coming up, that they inspire new generations of creativity in Yiddish culture and in Jewish culture. And we believe that they will continue to inspire us for generations to come, as long as people will take the time to open a book and to listen to a song or a program. And to that end, I will not say that this next poem was chosen in honor of Boris Sandler, who began as a violinist and became a Yiddish writer, but I will say that Jeff Warschauer set this poem of Shike Drizes to music, and he is closing this program with Dvoire Strauss, the Strauss-Warschauer duo, in a presentation of Dem Fidelis Neshoma, a song about tikkun, a song about reparation, a song about repairing a fiddle, repairing a world, and keeping our culture beautiful. Jeff and Deborah, please take it away. And thank you to all who've been in attendance. Thank you to the panelists, and thank you to the Workers' Circle, Arbeitering Kolya Borodulan. Thank you to Arya Leibovitz and the Jewish Labor Committee, and to Miri Koral and the California Institute for Yiddish Culture and Language. Jeff and Deborah, the stage is yours.
We just want to say what a great honor it is to be part of such a wonderful program. In the spirit of what Boris Sandler had to say, in the spirit of what Shane just had to say about new rebirth, it's interesting also to point out that we are doing this program on the cusp of Tisha B'Av, which is usually referred to as the saddest day in the liturgical calendar, but as in all sad days in the Jewish liturgical calendar, there is a sense of hope and renewal that is always there at the end. And it's so wonderful to be part of this amazing program. Thank you, Shane, and thank you so very much.
Dem Fidelis Neshoma. Once I had a fiddle, now it hangs on the wall. I would strike up a tune, but my hand trembles. I would give the fiddle away, but they tore out the strings one by one. I call on a master craftsman, and I ask him for consolation. Perhaps you can save the fiddle's soul. The first string had my mother's voice. The second, like a valley spring, like the third, like a little child who could laugh and cry at the same time. My mother's voice is no longer heard. The little spring cried itself out, and something happened to that child in the gray night. The fourth string made it through, grief-stricken and tired. I'd like to caress it with my mother's song, delight it with the spring, and give back to that little child the laughter it once knew. I call on a master craftsman, and I ask for consolation. Perhaps you can save dem fiddler's neshama.
Grata Fiedele hängt es auf der Wand, wird drauf gespielt, Vivato zittert mir die Hand. Wollte es weggeschonken, heu von Greis Harmonis, hat man abgerissen, einzig weit die Strunet. Klapp ich zur Meister, wird jemand kommen. Efter konstrat böven, den fiedles mit Schablawane. Ai, 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 erste von die Strune gehört mein Mammes Tor. Die zweite von die Strune sagt heller vollen Tor. Die dritte wie a Pizzokind, was bett sich auf die Hand. Und weinen und lachen einseitig gegönnt. Klappelt so Meister mit ihm an der Komme. Efter konstrat dem Fidelis nicht Schwab und Baume. Ai, 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 der Maxkall scheint nicht zu hören, am Weg nicht von der Drone. Das Quellerfall, an Eugenkopf getrennt, neues Gerune. Das Pitzelkind ist greu geworden in jene Vistelnacht. Es hat mit dem getroffen. Es wird es weint und mit es Zeugen auf an zarten Lieder, wurde sie gezählt und jetzt mit mein Mammes Lieder, gekewirkt sie mit der Quelle voll Sonne in dem Tor. Und umgekehrt dem Pitzelkind das Lachen von Amor. Klappert zur Meister mit ihm an der Komme. She got so brought a verb and fiddles
A big thank you to all of the panelists, all of you here in attendance as well. This is the eve of the execution of David Bergelson, Itzik Pfeffer, David Hofstein, Leib Kvitko, Solomon Lazowski, Peretz Markish, Boris Shimonovich, Leon Talmi, Emilia Teuman, Chaika Wattenberg, Ilya Wattenberg, Joseph Yusufovich, and Benjamin Zuskin. We recalled today also those who were murdered earlier, Izzy Charek, Moshe Kulbach, Zelig Axelrod, also passed away earlier during the trial, Solomon Bregman, in Gulag, der Nister Pinchas Kahanovich. The one survivor of the trials, Lena Stern, the only survivor among those defendants. And we read poetry by Shmuel Halkin, whose heart was so broken literally by the trials and time in prison that he died very young of a heart attack, as well as poets who lived long in Israel and in the United States and continue that tradition. We say Koved Zeir Ondenk. If you wish to honor their memory, do it by reading their poetry, reading their works, finding ways to share it with people as the artists today have done. Altus Beste. Thank you all.